You don't wake up believing you're unstoppable. That belief is not something you're born with. It's something you earn. It's forged in the quiet, uncelebrated hours of effort when no one is watching. Belief in oneself isn't an overnight transformation. It's the result of consistently taking action, consistently showing up, consistently doing the work, even when the results aren't immediate and the applause is nowhere to be heard. Confidence doesn't arrive because someone else told you you're capable. It grows from within, rooted in the daily habits that reinforce your worth and your direction. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you build trust with yourself, and that trust compounds. It becomes your personal power. It becomes your internal momentum. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, focus over chaos, progress over comfort, you're depositing into that internal bank account. And one day, without realizing it, you find yourself walking taller, thinking clearer, and acting with a quiet certainty. That certainty is the result of consistency. The truth is, we all start with doubt. Every person who has ever achieved anything significant began with a flicker of hope, not a roaring fire. But they nurtured that flicker. They fed it by showing up day after day, even when it felt pointless, even when they weren't sure it would work out. They kept going. Because belief is not built by standing still. It is built in motion, and that motion must be sustained. When you act consistently, you send a message to yourself that says, I am serious about my goals. And your brain begins to adjust. It begins to see you as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't quit. That is powerful. Because the way you see yourself ultimately dictates how you behave. When you start to believe you're the kind of person who finishes what they start, you begin to take on bigger goals. You begin to dream more boldly, not because you're arrogant, but because your track record speaks for itself. You have proven to yourself that you are capable of growth, that you can overcome resistance, and that you can adapt when things get hard. Too often, people wait for confidence before they begin. They want to feel ready. They want to feel certain. But the truth is, action comes before belief. You must move first, and the faith in yourself follows. That is the formula. Action, then belief, not the other way around. The moment you start doing the thing you've been putting off, the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses, you begin the process of becoming who you were meant to be. Consistency becomes your proof. It is the evidence that speaks louder than your fears. No matter how much doubt you feel, no matter how much uncertainty you face, you can always lean on your track record. When you have shown up for 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, you don't need to rely on emotion. You can rely on the facts. You've been doing the work. That's not up for debate. And that proof becomes the foundation of your belief. It becomes the reason you keep going when your motivation runs dry. Some days will feel slow. Some days it will feel like nothing is happening. But growth is often invisible until it's undeniable. You don't see the roots growing beneath the surface. But that doesn't mean progress isn't being made. Every time you act in alignment with your purpose, every time you stay consistent with your habits, you are laying bricks. And those bricks become the foundation of unshakable self-belief. The problem is that most people quit too soon. They underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. They want results now. But greatness doesn't operate on your schedule. It arrives only when you've proven that you're ready. Not by saying the right things, but by doing the right things again and again. That's the quiet cost of success, repetition without recognition. And that's why consistency is so underrated. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but it's the most honest expression of commitment there is. Anyone can get excited for a day. Anyone can be disciplined for a week. But who can keep going when it gets boring? Who can stay focused when the world is distracting? Who can stay committed when the rewards are nowhere in sight? Those who do, those are the ones who succeed. Because while the world is waiting for the perfect moment, they're creating momentum. While others are doubting themselves, they're building themselves. And while others are stuck in cycles of starting and stopping, they're stacking day after day of quiet, powerful effort. That's how belief is built. Not through inspiration, but through repetition. Through getting up each day and doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Through treating your goals like a non-negotiable promise instead of a hopeful wish. Belief becomes unshakable when it's earned, not borrowed from someone else, not taken from a quote or a video, but earned through your own sweat, your own time, your own discipline. That's the kind of belief that no setback can destroy. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains. And the only way to get there is through consistency. Daily. Relentless. Intentional. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to show up and do the work. Because every time you do, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. And eventually, those votes add up. They add up to belief. They add up to power. They add up to a version of you that no longer needs to wonder, can I do this? Because the answer is already written in the work you've done.